on a whole nother level. Girl, he only fucked you over cause you let him. Girl, I guess he didn't know any better. Girl, that man didn't show me ever. Do all I can just to show you you're special. Certain it's your love that holds me together. And you say he been killing the vibe.
How's it going, guys? Gus Daly here, back with another video, and today we're looking at Most Horrific Injuries 11, part 2 from Football Daily. We looked at part 1 just the other day, and there were some pretty gruesome ones on there. A lot of leg breaks, a big gash down the side of someone's leg, and obviously a check with the skull fracture. We'll jump right into this one. Link will be down in the description to the original, but here we go.
Well, hello there and welcome back to Football Daily. And yes, you asked for it, so we delivered. Here's another team made up of players who all suffered absolutely horrifying injuries. We hope you've got a strong start. Goalkeeper, Edison. By now, everybody's seen the photos. Manchester City keeper Edison has only wore the sky blue shirt 5 times, but now has more nostrils than clean sheets after Liverpool's Sadio Mane left half a dozen stud holes in his face during City's 5-0 win over the Reds in 2017. Chasing a dropping ball, Mane went in like a medieval knight with his leg at head height and was unsurprisingly shown the red card. Fans at first were unsure how bad the injury was, but Edison was given oxygen and left the field on a stretcher. The Brazilian required 8 stitches and has since wore Petr Cech's scrum-style hat. But that didn't stop Liverpool appealing Mane's red card though. Or Football Daily's very own Joe Tomlinson claiming that the Senegalese forward should never have been dismissed in the first place. Looks like Edison isn't the only one suffering a brain injury. Defence, Dario Scuderi. Borussia Dortmund have a reputation for developing the world's best youngsters, but Dario Scuderi found his time with BVB to have a less happy ending. The Italian, who won 2 Bundesliga youth titles with Dortmund, was playing in the UEFA Youth League in 2016 when he threw himself into a block in the penalty area, stopping the shot but paying a high price. According to Scuderi's doctor, it was the worst injury you could possibly imagine. Pretty much everything tore, the ligaments, all the muscles and the tendons. The player underwent 8 surgeries in the following months, but at the age of 18, it seemed like the fullback's career was already over. However, Dortmund weren't willing to wash their hands of the matter. When Scuderi decided to begin a university degree and asked the club whether they could loan him the money to pay his fees, BVB instead offered to pay the whole bill. Lovely fellas. He'll study sports management, but is unlikely to play football ever again. Defender, Marcin Wasilewski. Capped a massive 60 times for Poland, more than Fabianski or Kamil Glik. Marcin Wasilewski played in his homeland until he was 26, when he moved to Anderlecht. In Belgium, the big unit won 3 titles and even bagged 8 league goals from right back in 2009, playing with a 16-year-old Romelu Lukaku. But at the beginning of the following season, Wasilewski ended up with a horrific leg break after a filthy tackle from Axel Witsel, then of Standard Liège. The fracture was so bad that the bone broke the skin, and Witsel was handed an 8-game ban. Wasilewski was sidelined for 10 months. There was a happy ending after all though. Wasilewski went on to spend 4 years with Leicester City, where he played a small part in the historic title charge of 2015-16, while Witsel has spent the last 5 years pouring himself out in China and Russia. Defender, Gary Mabbott. The second longest serving player in Tottenham's history, Gary Mabbott spent 16 years with Spurs from 1982 to 1998, playing nearly 500 times in the league alone. He captained the Lily Whites for 11 years and lifted the FA Cup and UEFA Cup, with the club only winning 2 League Cups since. On the opening day of the 1996-97 season, Mabbott broke his leg after just 20 minutes, and to make matters worse, his replacement, Stuart Nethercott, was on for just 9 minutes when he had to be substituted with a bloody wound to his shin. Mabbott thought his recovery would be straightforward, but he sat out for the rest of the season and had to retire soon after. But his legs continued to give him trouble. A diabetic, Mabbott woke up in the night in April in 2015 to find his left leg was cold. It turned out he developed a clot in a major artery and the whole blood vessel had to be replaced. Doctors considered amputation, but in the end were able to restore blood flow, sealing the surgical scar with 112 staples. Mabbott's operation left him unable to kick a football or run, and as a result, he can never return to coach. Right wing back, Seamus Coleman. An Everton player for over 8 years now, Coleman has played for the Toffees nearly 250 times and is one of those players, like Adam Lallana, who is always older than you think. The 28-year-old has remained loyal to the Toffees despite overtures from Manchester United and, allegedly, Bayern Munich, while he's picked up 43 caps for Ireland. While on international duty with Ireland in March 2017, Coleman was brutally fouled by Wales' Neil Taylor and broke his tibia and fibula, both bones of the lower leg. The injury was so severe that Coleman was immediately ruled out for the rest of the year, with FIFA paying his salary due to convalescence. At his age, it's also unlikely that the right back will regain the pace which saw him bag 6 goals for Everton in his best league campaign back in 2013-14. Left wing back, Enrique Romero. Deportivo La Coruña defender Enrique Romero played for the club at its peak in 2000, when the Galicians won the only Spanish title in their history. Depor finished 5 points above Barcelona and 7 above Real Madrid, even outscoring a Merengues side which boasted Seedorf, Roberto Carlos and Raúl. 3 years on, he and his teammates flew to the Basque Country for a face-off with Osasuna, and departing the plane, Romero spotted a snake on the runway. Apparently not learning a lesson from Adam and Eve, the Spaniard decided to befriend the snake and was promptly bitten on the finger. His arm swelled up and Romero was forced to spend the night in hospital. To make matters worse, Osasuna beat Depor 3-2, ending the club's 5-match winning run, and the papers managed to get a photo of the fearsome serpent, which had put the defender on his back. It turned out it was just 15 centimetres long. Centre mid, David Batty. David Boatti won 42 caps for England in the 90s, despite competition from Beckham, Ince, McManaman and Scholes. A reliable defensive midfielder, Batty turned out for Leeds, Newcastle and Blackburn, but when Rovers lifted the Premier League trophy in 1995, Batty refused the medal, as he felt he didn't deserve it after spending much of the season sidelined through injury. That would have been the second and last title of Batty's career. His health became less and less reliable. By the time he returned to Leeds in 1998, his Achilles tendon was shot to pieces. To make matters worse, during one spell out, his infant daughter ran over his ankle on her tricycle, setting back his recovery even further. Embarrassment aside, it didn't stop Batty helping Leeds reach the semi-finals of the Champions League in 2001 at the ripe old age of 33. Centre midfield, Paulo Diogo. Despite the name, Paulo Diogo was a Swiss midfielder who spent almost his whole career in his home country. He got his big break at Servette, where he played with Philippe Senderos and was managed by current Nice boss Lucien Favre. Unfortunately, it wasn't the only big break of his career. While playing against Schaffhausen in 2004, Diogo assisted Jean Beausejour for an 87th minute goal and ran over to the fans to celebrate, jumping onto the fence in front of the stands. Unfortunately, his wedding ring got stuck on the metal, and when the midfielder leapt down, half of his finger was torn off. Both player and stewards then searched frantically for the missing digit, but the ref, oblivious to what happened, showed Diogo the yellow card for an excessive celebration. He was eventually taken to hospital, but doctors couldn't reattach the finger and simply neatened up the wound. Diogo continued to play professionally, though we don't know if his marriage survived. Forward, James Vaughan. For all the leg breaks and groin strains, we rarely see blood on the pitch, but former Everton star James Vaughan turned Goodison Park into Turf Moor briefly in 2007 when he showed the Blues some claret. Vaughan was a lightning-quick forward, having run the 100 metres in 11.5 seconds as a 13-year-old, and he netted on his debut for the Toffees, aged 16 and 271 days, to become the Premier League's youngest ever goal scorer, a record which still stands. By the time he was 19, he was a regular for Everton and scored against Bolton in a 1-1 draw when both sides were vying for a European spot. Yes, those days did exist, but the goal was to be overshadowed as he contested a 50-50 with Abdoulaye Maita and was caught by the Ivorian studs. It looked bad enough, but soon blood was pouring out of Vaughan's boot and the tackle had severed an artery in his ankle. The club doctor stitched the youngster up, but the bleed wouldn't stop and he ended up in the emergency room. Forward, Luc Nilis. Chances are you've never heard of Luc Nilis, but the Belgian striker was one of the best goal scorers of the 1990s. After bagging 127 goals in 224 games for Anderlecht, he went on to PSV Eindhoven, where he played alongside Jaap Stam, Heidegger Johnson and Ronaldo, who later said Nilis was his best ever partner, over Raúl and Rivaldo. The pair bagged 42 in the league in their first year together, with Nilis beating the Brazilian to the Player of the Season award. And after R9 departed for Barcelona, Nilis formed a new partnership with a 22-year-old called Ruud van Nistelrooy. They combined for 55 Eredivisie goals in a single campaign. And when Nilis left, for Aston Villa of all places, he'd hit 110 in 164, a better rate than Aubameyang for Dortmund. The striker scored in his first 2 games, but just 6 weeks after his debut, he collided with Ipswich keeper Richard Wright and suffered a compound fracture to his shin. The wound became infected and amputation was even briefly considered. In the end, Nilis kept his leg, but retired after 3 games for Villa. Forward, Jeremy Menez. Head injuries are truly scary, so Jeremy Menez was lucky to get away with only superficial damage after a clash with Didier Ndong in 2016. The French winger, who turned out for Monaco and Roma before winning 2 titles with PSG, switched to Bordeaux and 2 days later debuted for Les Girondins in a pre-season game at Lorient. Coming on as a second-half sub, Menez spent just 15 minutes on the field before a tussle saw Ndong accidentally step on his head, catching a stud in his ear and ripping off a portion of Menez's earlobe. Ndong was horrified, as were the crowds, by the fountain of blood coming out of the veteran's head. Menez was fine in the end, undergoing surgery to have his ear put back where it belonged. Ndong, however, would go on to more upsetting experiences, signing for David Moyes' Sunderland 3 weeks later.
So we hope you enjoyed that, and if you want to check...
My God. The leg break from the right back, right centre back from Dortmund. Oh my Lord, that's not good. At 18, that is not what you want when you're on the road to be a professional footballer. But hey, fair play to Dortmund for paying for his uni degree after, which at least then now he's got a future. Like, if they didn't pay for it, it's hard because he probably hasn't. I don't know. It's a thing around sports stars, especially nowadays, that they should study as well as play, but a lot of them still don't. And if you're young and you get injured, well, you've got nothing really. You've got nothing except you've only known football your whole life up until that point, and yeah. Anyway, link will be in top of the description. Like, subscribe, turn notification bell on, and I'll catch you all in my next video. See ya.
Warriors around, don't get caught in the mosh pit. Fuel to the fire, ain't nobody can stop it. Trouble in my city, but you know I'm across it. Got a 40 on my hip and I'm liable to spark it. Throw down these hits, my click is indivisible. I aim, you duck, I squeeze, now you invisible. I'm not afraid of getting physical. All these different chemicals are fogging up my visuals. Blood